Okay, I hope that's working. Again, this is not the video that I wanted to make today, but I feel like I should make it. I don't have a huge viewership, but if anyone is listening to this, then I hope it helps in some way. So basically what's been going on last night and today is that Israel has been bombarding Gaza, the Gaza Strip. And so this is against, sorry if I get emotional, this is against international law. So collective punishment is illegal under international law, and it should strike any of us as immoral. So basically, it's very, very difficult for the people in Gaza. There's about 2 million people there. It's a massive population, many of whom have been displaced, you know, from other places in what is now Israel. And they're kind of trapped there. There's refugee camps, you know, there's already, they suffer starvation. They can have their amenities turned off, you know, whenever Israel decides. There's checkpoints. I said this in my last video. There is a lot of children there. There's almost 1 million children, so almost half the population are children. And when I'm saying this, I don't want to be positioning it like, you know, oh, it's all right that the adults get hurt, you know, but not the children. I don't mean it like that. I don't think anyone should get hurt. I just mean that, like, it demonstrates just how, like, you don't get more innocent than a child, you know, you really don't. And it's disgusting to see any child hurt in a time of war, you know. When you see what's happened to the Israeli children, you know, I saw a video of those two lovely little redhead little boys, and it was really, really upsetting. And I feel like the empathy is missing from people when it comes to Palestinian children, because I feel like the Palestinians have been so dehumanized over time, and I think it's a mixture of racism, it's a mixture of Islamophobia, that I'm seeing people just have a complete lack of empathy. So when I talk about the children there, I'm not trying to say that it's fine that other people are getting hurt. I'm just trying to say that, like, there's almost 1 million children in that stretch of land. It's been being bombarded in a collective punishment. So Israel are saying that they have a right to defend themselves, and they're saying that they're trying to attack Hamas. Remember, they've got a very advanced weapon system, which the people of Palestine do not have. And again, this is a massive group of people. You know, you've got all different people of all different kinds. Like, you know, they're not one massive group. And it's, you know, it's a lie, basically, that what's going on is happening to try and take out Hamas. That's not what's going on. Children are, I don't know if you've seen on social media, it's really upsetting. You know, there are children in the rubble, children that have been burned, children that have been killed, that are in shock, you know, covered in dust, like the footage from after 9/11. You know, the streets just covered in dust. I was watching some live streams from people who are in Palestine, and you can hear outside, like, you can hear the bombs rumbling. These people are scared because there's nowhere to go. There is nowhere to go in Gaza, and I think people don't understand, like, there is nowhere to go, because there's nowhere safe. So you've got the people in Gaza who are sheltering in, I believe, like, some of them are sheltering outside hospitals, some of them are sheltering in schools at the moment, but there's nowhere to be safe. Like, if you've got a child, and again, I'm sorry to focus this on children, but I just feel like it's the ultimate example of just how wicked this is. Where are you supposed to take them? Like, how are you supposed to keep them safe and keep them calm, right? And the trauma of that is unbelievable. Please, if I start crying, like, don't, if you disagree with me on this, please don't use that against me. Like, I just find it emotional to talk about, but I'm fine. You know, what they're going through is just really horrific on a human level. And so we've got Israel breaking international law because they're taking collective punishment. They've said they're going to turn off the power, right? It's a siege, essentially. These children are under siege. So you've got children and adults. Sorry, I keep saying children, but, like, they're wounded. Then people can't get to them, right? The signals keep being taken out, so people are not only scared that they're going to die, but they're scared that people aren't going to know what happened to them properly. They've tried to stop the water, the electricity. They're trying to starve them out, and these are kids, and these are people that are wounded. There's so many wounded people right now that the hospitals are having to tell people who are injured, we can only take the most severe cases. There are just people wandering around, like, bloody and nowhere to go, because there is nowhere safe. There is nowhere safe. This is not targeting Hamas, and the Israeli military and their force, they are able to pinpoint. They have very, very advanced weaponry. Okay, and, like, there's so many innocent people there. This is a humanitarian crisis, and all I see from the people here they don't care. They actually do not care. Like, the people in the media, I say the people in the media, I think people just generally do care. But the media is so sick that they are acting like they are egging on a war crime in progress, and the blood of those Palestinian people is on their hands. Our politicians are egging it on. Our current government is right-wing and obviously supports Israel. Unfortunately, our not left-wing anymore, are saying, oh, they've got no time for it, and they wholeheartedly support Israel and she's got a right to defend herself. I don't know why they started calling Israel she all of a sudden. I think it might tie into the idea of trying to make Israel seem like the victim in the situation. And I'm not saying that the people that were horribly killed, like, they are absolutely victims. Like, it's absolutely horrific what happened to them. But the answer, like, Israel are not the victims in this situation when it comes to occupation. The fact they have the power to stop people getting in and out, the fact they have the power to literally turn the power off, should tell people something. So while everyone's like, oh, you know, unequivocal support for Israel in defending herself, and it's like, what does that even mean? Because this is not defense, this is a genocide happening right in front of us, and because of social media, we see it as it happens. Nobody seems to be listening to what's going on. You know, it's barely brought up, you know, what about all the innocent people in Gaza? You've got people openly saying things like, you know, oh, you know, I'm glad, you know, like, wipe Gaza off the map, and that is dehumanizing language. So the people of Gaza have been referred to as animals, so that's dehumanization, so it's okay to bomb them. You know what, I'm gonna just try and I'm gonna just find some tweets and stuff that I've found here. I'm sorry this is a useless video, but I just feel so angry about it. I feel so upset and I feel really helpless about it, because these are just, like, there is an actual crisis unfolding, and it's looking around and thinking, like, what happened to everyone? Like, I didn't realise we were so far into that level of dehumanisation. Okay, so what have I got here? So we've got, obviously Netanyahu is he's conducting an act of collective punishment against the Palestinian people. This is a war crime. This is a war crime. Like, the people, the other countries, like, that are giving their full support to Israel right now are supporting a war crime. They are evil, terrible, wicked people, because you can't, like, it's really evil. It's actually really, you know, it's awful. And everyone keeps saying, you know, oh, Israel has a right to defend itself. And against what? Against the people that you're occupying. Like, how is this helping defend anybody? Like, how is this helping defend anybody? Even if you're somebody who genuinely thinks, oh, Palestine's not occupied, right? If you're someone who thinks that, how is this defending anyone? Because, you know, when you see the images of these poor people, like the kids, and the trauma of that, what do they think that's going to do to people? Because the trap that the Palestinians are in is they've been so dehumanized, and I talk about this in terms of abuse dynamics, and it feels like a ridiculous small thing to even say, you know, in this big situation. But what they do to victims is they put them through hell, they put them through torture, and they put them through all that, and then they erase it. And then when that person grows up, and that person is angry, and that person feels unheard, and that person feels like, you know what, peace isn't an option because we're not human to them, you know, what do you think that person's going to do? Like, what do you think? I'm not saying every person will do that, of course, but just using empathy, the trauma that is happening right now, even, I beg the people who the people who care about the Israelis and not even the Palestinians, I beg you then to think about the fact that this will have repercussions for years and years and years to come because of the pain and the dehumanization. I can't imagine the level of trauma that is happening. How do you comfort your children in that situation when there's indiscriminate bombs? The rest of the world is saying, oh, good, you know, good for you, Israel, you have a right to defend yourself. And you're just being bombed and attacked and everything's being turned off and you've got no power. Like, that's what's happening. That is what's happening. And oppressed people is being tortured. And this is a siege tactic. It's not to get at Hamas or the people who committed the attacks in Israel. Like, that's not the case. I'm sorry, it's not. That's a lie. And that is a lie that the IDF uses and Israel has used for a long time. That's not the case. It's a cycle. It's a terrible, terrible cycle, and the rest of the world is so complicit because we don't help, right? We don't ever listen. We don't ever try and, like, I'm thinking about it like this, right? If you're Palestinian and you're in this situation right now and you're seeing what's happening, like, how are you going to start feeling about the rest of the world? Like, how betrayed must you feel? How othered must you feel? How angry, how helpless to see that. This is going to lead to these kind of awful attacks, indiscriminate attacks, are going to lead to more violence. They're going to lead to more violence against innocent people, people from other countries, innocent Jewish people. You know, there's okay, let's talk about the thing that's happening here right now. So there's been, I believe last night there were people, Free Palestine protesters and activists in London last night with the Free Palestine, the Palestine flag, right? Bear in mind, this is a time when Gaza was under attack. The civilian population of Gaza was under attack. They are trying to twist it in this country now, so that even though you can put the Israeli flag on your buildings, you know, while they're committing war crimes, while they are an apartheid state, while they themselves are a terrorist state for what they're doing, you can put that up and that's fine. They're now trying to make that if you wear a Palestine badge, that you support the murder of those Israeli people. And they've been trying to do this for a while. It's just another way to silence the Palestinian voices, right? And people who support the Palestinians. Because they're trying to make it... I've seen people saying, oh, I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe because I see Palestine badges. And here's the thing. If you don't feel safe because of a Palestine badge, like... How do you think people feel when they see the Israeli flag, right? That's just the occupiers' flag. And people have every right. People have every right to put that flag up, you know. They have every right to do that. But when it's a Palestinian flag, it's dangerous, right? Because people think they've got these ideas of like, oh, it's foreign, it's not like us, it's not Western, oh, it's Muslim, oh, it's dangerous. And it's really sick. It's so sick that the flag, the idea of freedom for these oppressed people is now being twisted into like a witch hunt in terms of, oh, okay, so you support what happened to the Israelis, right? And it's never the other way around, right? It's never the other way around. When people put the Israeli flag up, right, you don't get the journalists in the world saying to them, oh, so you support apartheid and occupation. I wish they'd get asked that, but they never do. They never ever do. You've got people saying, you know, I'm seeing Jewish people, you know, writing about how they're worried about, you know, their kids and stuff here, and I have full empathy for that. I mean, it must be horrible, you know, the thought of anyone being harmed, especially innocent kids, is awful, and it must be really scary because tensions are getting worse. But I maintain the actions of Israel, the evil actions of Israel right now, and the complicity of the rest of the world are not only putting the Palestinians in danger, but they are putting Jewish people, innocent Jewish people around the world in danger. This is just going to escalate, and it's going to escalate, and it's going to escalate. Here's a BBC tweet that has actually got a correction on it. More than 500 people have died in Gaza after Israel launched massive retaliatory airstrikes, according to Gaza's health ministry. More than 700 people have been killed in Israel since Hamas launched its attacks on Sunday. Follow the latest. And as you'll notice, people have died in Gaza, and people have been killed in Israel. And again, I'm not trying to say it's not all right that anyone in Israel was killed, but the Palestinians, the people in Gaza, are being killed. It's not this neutral thing, you know. It's like when it's a person of colour, when it's the Middle East, when it's Muslim people. In this country, it's like people think it's all right. People think it's all right that, you know, there's that kind of collective punishment and dehumanization. The amount of people I've seen, literally writing about how Islam itself is like a death cult, and that Israel will only be safe when Gaza is razed to the ground, you know, and they're cheering on genocide, right? They are cheering on genocide. And look, I'm just gonna, it's completely obvious to me, it's sick. This is the weird victim blaming we see in abuse dynamics all the time. We've now got the perpetrator of occupation, of torture, of abuse, presenting themselves as a victim and using that as an excuse to absolutely destroy their victim now. There's no reason for this collective punishment to be happening. Open your eyes. Open your eyes, even if you're someone who supports Israel in this whole thing. Like, think about how different it would feel if, say, Hamas had the power, right? Not, they didn't have to like break into Israel or come through or do whatever. If they literally had the power to just say, right, we're turning off all your stuff, you're not getting out, and we're going to bomb and bomb and bomb you. Good luck. The world would think that was evil. Israel has the fact that Israel has the power to do that and is doing it. And in this country, everyone's talking, oh, you know, good for Israel. We unequivocally stand for Israel, and a genocide is happening. A genocide is happening. And I'm upset from just seeing what I've seen. You know, the Palestinian people crying for their kids, holding their kids, the kids there. And I know people see it. I know people are seeing it, but the Palestinians have been so dehumanized, right? It's like people view those children as baby terrorists. It's like they see brown people, and this is, I can only speak for Britain, but in Britain, for a long time, they've been working on this. There is extreme Islamophobia here. And this level of fear around people who are Muslim or from Muslim countries, right? And this is basically where it goes, because you've got the dehumanization of a group of people who are going through hell, right? They're already displaced, they're already suffering, and they've got no support, and now they are being obliterated. And an actual state, not a group, not a little group, as an actual state has said this is just the beginning. They're animals, and you know, this will echo through the generations, and they're putting them into a siege situation. An actual state is doing that. And I feel sick. I feel absolutely sick. I feel ashamed of people. I feel sickened. I feel like journalists are doing it, politicians are doing it, and it's like, you people are like, it's evil. It's actually like, I feel like that word doesn't do it justice. How sick and evil that is. They just don't care. They just do not care at all. It's just come as it's not a shock in terms of, you know, I knew there was this here, but you think, don't you, sometimes, that okay, but like actually seeing the reality of it, you know, even those people, they would see it and they'd be like, oh my gosh, you know, that's awful. But they're seeing it, and they're not, in their minds, those kids are bad, right? It's like, oh, they're going to grow up and be terrorists. And they use that a lot, you know, oh, terrorism, Palestine terrorism, you know. Israel is a terrorist state. It is right now acting as a massive terrorist. That's what it's doing. It's inflicting terror on a group of people who can't go anywhere. That is what it's doing, and the world are egging them on. The world are just egging them on. I feel sick about it. Okay. Apparently, an Israeli army spokesperson has said about Gaza, our focus is on creating damage, not on precision. I will check to make sure that's accurate. But this is what I'm saying. This is torture. This is terrifying the population into submission. It's terrifying them into no longer wanting their rights and feeling afraid to stand up to Israel's occupation. It's about making other people around the world, it's about, you know, making them feel like they can't stand up for the Palestinian people. Like, it's isolating them from their allies. And if you follow this channel because I talk about abuse dynamics, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at an isolation situation. So we're looking at a way in which the victim, which is the Palestinians, it's now that, you know, oh, you don't want to be associated with them because of this or because of that, you know. It's the perfect victim thing, right? And it's holding all of those people accountable for the actions of a group. It is trying to frighten people. Like, I'm seeing people having the nerve in this country to say that people flying the Palestine flag, people being there with the flags while Gaza is being bombed, which is against international law, it is a war crime is happening to innocent people. And they're saying, oh, look at those terrorist sympathizers. Look at those terrorist sympathizers. Grow up. Grow up. You know, if that happened to us here, people just don't have any empathy. Like, they can't think into other people's shoes unless they're people who are like them. You know, and they've been taught to dehumanize Muslims. Not all Palestinians are Muslims, obviously, but, you know, they've been taught that. And it's like they refuse. They absolutely refuse to feel any empathy. And, you know, people talk about the Holocaust and the evil of the Holocaust. And I am gonna say it here. I will say it here. That is a great evil in history, right? I think we all know that. It was horrific. The dehumanization of the people, the attacks, you know, the way that there was no way for Jewish people to to win in that system. Like there was nothing. They were pushed into a complete corner. No matter what they did, they were hurt. And the rest of Europe didn't help. Jewish people were saying, look, please, we need help. We need to go somewhere. We were like, it's not our problem. It's not our problem. You know, these evil things have happened to the Jewish people, and these evil this evil history, right? And now people are like, I'm sorry, I say you shouldn't draw comparisons. I will draw comparisons. I will, because it's important to say. At the time of the Holocaust, right, think about the way that Jews were depicted in the media, right, and historically the way Jews have been depicted. It was like they were treated as a sort of people that they weren't human, they didn't deserve your empathy, they would grow up to be this, they'd grow up to be that, you know, they're animals, they're not like us, and that's how evil was enacted against them. People don't learn anything. People do not learn anything. They can't see when it's happening. A genocide is happening, right? A genocide is happening. And people are still, because the Israeli people have suffered. And yeah, they have suffered. Of course they've suffered. That doesn't mean, okay, let's obliterate and enact genocide on the people there. People are cheering on genocide. I truly, truly believe. And it's figures like people like Nigel Farage and stuff like that. The far right, they're all doing it. Don't, you know, like this just tells you everything you need to know. They don't care about Jewish people. They don't care about Jewish people and the attacks on Jewish people and the anti-Semitism they face. They don't care about that. What they care about is that this is an opportunity to completely demonize people that are seen as Muslim and brown and stop them coming in, right? That's all this is. That is all they are doing. They do not care. They do not care about Jewish people. And if they did care, they would not be in any way associating Jewish people, innocent Jewish people all around this world, with the evil actions of Israel right now. And to act like we have to defend the government of Israel or anything the Israeli state does because they represent Jewishness is anti-Semitic in itself. It is anti-Semitic in itself to even suggest that. Do not connect those war crimes and that genocide and this occupation with Jewish people. Why? Like, it's not accurate. What's your aim there? Why? It's not anti-Semitic to have a Palestine flag and to want Palestine to be free from occupation. It's just not. And I feel like at this point people need to stop being scared of being told that they are, because that's not. Who cares at this point? There's people dying. Who actually cares? You know, the people here are more worried about, I feel worried to it makes me sick. I'm sorry. I don't mean to undermine. It must be horrible, you know, to be a Jewish person here and to see this kicking off and to think, oh God, I really, really hope, you know, are we going to be all right? Is there going to be like, you know, I know it's that situation. I do get that completely. But there's no thought for the Muslims. Right? There's no thought for the people who are standing with Palestine. Right? There's like, people don't care in this country when they perceive the victim to be Muslim or brown. And all these people as well saying, you know, we support Israel. They don't care about Jewish people either. They don't care about Jewish people. And people saying that the Palestinians are in some way anti-Semitic for wanting an end to occupation. They didn't choose who they're occupied by. They didn't choose that, you know, they wouldn't want to be occupied by anyone. Again, it's blaming the victim. We're seeing Israeli politicians able to say the most awful things about Muslims, right? Awful things. And people accept, you know, it's the pain of the attacks that have happened. But a Palestinian can't. I saw someone, he went on the news and he was interviewed, and members of his family had been killed in the strikes, right? He had to sit there and be measured, and he wasn't offered empathy. There was no, this guy's upset, this guy might be angry, this guy is grieving. It was, do you condemn Hamas? And he said, these are children. Like, sorry, what are you talking about? Are you saying these children are Hamas? They're nothing to do with Hamas. And that's how they treated him. And again, that's where the Palestinians they're not allowed humanity, because they're not allowed to be angry, right? They're not allowed to say a damn thing. Like, they're not allowed to say a thing. You know, you've got so many Israeli politicians and supporters saying the most awful, wicked things about people in Gaza, right? About people in Palestine, about Muslims in general. But God forbid the Palestinian people who are actually living it right now misspeak, right? God forbid they react to the terrible trauma of what's going on. I'm just fed up of it. Fed up of it. It makes me feel sick and I feel angry. I'm fed up of seeing children dying and people, grown adults, making excuses for it. It should disgust you. And it's the dehumanization of the Palestinians that, like, we're flying the Israeli flag, right? We're projecting it onto places while the Israeli state is committing a war crime and a genocide. The people are screaming for help. They're screaming for aid. Actually, that's what I wanted to say. Sorry as well. The guy that I'm talking about. I'm so sorry that this is all over the place. His name is Hussam Zomlot. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, I'm really sorry. He's lost 6 members of his family, and he went on. I believe he went on Newsnight. I think it's Newsnight, and he was just basically, he's talking about how his family been killed. And it's like, okay, but do you condemn Hamas? And he's not even allowed to be a human being. He's not even allowed to show emotion at all. Who knows what would have happened if he'd been angry? You know, and I can't imagine the way he's being treated just from that is ridiculous. And I'm sorry, like, I'm just going through this, and there's people in Palestine who I follow. You know, like, I try and keep up with what's going on. Literally last night, we're tweeting things like, genuinely, we might die. Like, we actually might not make it through this. We really don't know. And there's nothing, like, all you can do is pray for these people. And then I thought, you know, make a video about the situation. I know it's not that much help at all, but, you know, these people are actually, like, this is real people's lives. It's not a video game. And I think in this country, we tend to think in the Middle East, you know, if it's Muslim country or something, it's like video game characters, you know. It's like, oh, you know, they don't count. They're not people. Okay, so basically, the EU, I believe, wanted to stop aid to Palestine. An innocent population, basically. They wanted to stop aid. Can you even imagine that? The situation they're already in is dire, and then this happens, and it's like, anyway, we're stopping the aid. Thank goodness. Right, so I believe Spain, Luxembourg, Ireland and Denmark, they've basically stood up to that, and they've blocked it. So they've said that we think it's illegal. Ireland questioned the legitimacy of the decision. Our understanding is that there is no legal basis for a unilateral decision of this kind by an individual commissioner, and we do not support a suspension of aid. We are formally requesting the Commission to clarify the legal basis for this announcement. And again, this is how, can you even believe that they're in the minority, right? That these are people that saying, actually, no, you know, you shouldn't cut off humanitarian aid to innocent people. But that's a minority view with these people in power. It's just disgusting. Thankfully, humanitarian aid is going to try and keep going in, although I really don't know how that's going to happen. You know, there's people on the news talking about how they're working for different charities and they're trying to stay in touch and they're trying to just help in any way they can. But it's a dire situation. I don't even know what else to say. It's a terrible, terrible situation. I'm sickened, I'm disgusted by not only our government, but by our opposition, by the public figures in this country who have made it. I feel so sick that the death of all these people in Gaza is like nothing to them. It's a footnote, right? It's like, oh, well, you know, those terrible attacks happen in Israel, therefore let's have a genocide. You know, they say, oh, that's terrorism. How is this not terrorism? How is this not terrorism on a much worse and much larger scale? This is truly, truly sick. It's got power behind it. This is a state supported by other places all over the world in mass murder. And I can't imagine how the Palestinians must feel. You know, not even just the pain and the terror of it, but feeling like the rest of the world doesn't even see it and is seeing them as deserving of it in some way. So anyway, that's why I wanted to make this, because the Palestinians are not deserving of this. They are under occupation. They've been under occupation for a long, long time. They deserve their rights and they deserve their freedom. They deserve not to be killed. They deserve not to have their power cut off or to be controlled or to have checkpoints. You know, they deserve their human dignity. They deserve to be able to grieve, feel angry, take time like everyone. Like, they deserve to be free and they deserve the basic. They deserve to be treated like human beings by the rest of the world, and they're just not. They're just not treated by human beings. And then people turn around and wonder why, you know, oh, you know, you get people in Palestine who want to commit terrible acts against civilians, and it's like, where do you think that's coming from? Where do you think it is in a person's life that happens? Do you think they just wake up one day and that happens? I'm not excusing any sort of harm against civilians. What I'm saying is this is just going to make the problem much worse. You know, I was thinking about it like this. Well, I think about, you know, growing up when I was younger, you know, I've got a little brother, a few years younger than me. He's like my best friend. And, you know, when you're seeing these kids and what they're going through, if I was living for a week in the situation that the Palestinians have been living in, I can't tell you. I don't know what that would have done to me as a person. That's the honest truth. I just don't know. How do you deal with everything around you collapsing, your family in danger, there's no safety, the rest of the world villainizing you, you're starving, you've got no power, nobody seems to care? I imagine that would make me angry. I imagine that would just change the whole trajectory of somebody's life. And it's just, this is going to just keep the cycle of violence going and going and going. It will only end when the Palestinians are treated like people and have their rights. People saying, oh, there was going to be a peaceful solution. There can't be a peaceful solution until the Palestinians have their rights. They have to be able to come to this as human beings with respect. You can't have a discussion. I'm sorry to keep bringing this back to abuse dynamics, but it's what I've spoken about before. You can't have a discussion with somebody who is in control of you. Right, that's not how it works. If people want there to be peace and they want there to be some sort of solution so that innocent people are okay, the Palestinians need their rights. The Palestinians need their rights. Bombing them to bits is not going to help anybody. And if all you care about is the Israelis in this situation anyway, and you don't care about the Palestinians, then even for their sake, the Palestinians deserve their rights to be respected. Like, they deserve to be treated like human beings. If you treat people like they are animals, right, you treat people like animals, people will become desperate. If you're a parent who is in this situation with your kids and you lose your kids to this, right, and it's a whole state doing this and the rest of the world doesn't seem to care, and even people seeing it, they don't seem to care, they think it's all right. What on earth does that do to you? I just think of the people I love in my life and the grief I would have, and just, the Palestinians aren't allowed to be human. They're not allowed to be human. They're not allowed to be anything. You know, every single thing they do, no matter how they react or respond, is not all right. They're not allowed to do anything. And this is evidenced by the fact that, you know, everyone's saying, you know, oh, you know, they should have just done it peacefully. Do you understand how many different ways the Palestinian people have tried to get their rights? It's never, ever right to kill civilians. But it's like, don't sit there and say that if you've not once, you know, advocated for a peaceful solution and the Palestinians having their very basic rights. And that's the first step. That's just the first step. If you can't even support the Palestinians in being treated like people and having their basic human rights respected, then shut up on this debate. Like, I don't know, they're just being treated like they're inhuman. And I just think it's disgusting. I think it's disgusting, and just, I'm angry about it. But again, you know, I'm here and I'm safe. I'm in a really safe place. I just wanted to show my support for the people of Gaza, the Palestinian people, the struggle of the Palestinian people for their liberation. Feels mad to even have to say it. I don't want any civilian, any innocent person hurt whatsoever. But when it comes to a situation of the occupied, oppression, colonialism, ethnic cleansing, there is a clear right and wrong in that situation. It doesn't mean that you have to support every single Palestinian in whatever they do and however they deal with it. But if you truly care about justice, occupation and human rights, and you want things to be better, then it's not difficult to understand. There is a state committing war crimes against a group of people who are being held in an open-air prison they can't escape from, half of which are children. It's not difficult. And yet people are still struggling. They're not even, it's got so bad, they're not even on the fence. You know, in the past, people might have been, oh, I don't want to take an opinion, I'm on the fence. They're siding with the actual villain here. They're siding with the oppressive force. Anyway, thank you for watching this. I'm praying for Palestine, and I'm praying for the Israelis too. I'm literally praying for every single innocent person. I am praying that people use their humanity and that the Palestinians are going to be free, right? And I just wanted to say that, you know, I know it's going to become more and more difficult here to, you know, talk about Palestine issues, because it seems like what they're trying to do is act like if you believe that Palestine should be free, then in some way you're supporting the horrible murder of innocent civilians and innocent Israelis, which is not, really not. But I'm going to keep talking about it, and I don't care about that. People can think what they want to think. I think it's a tactic being used to try and silence people. And yeah, I feel like we've just got to think the Palestinians are going through actual living hell right now. So I think we can probably stand to be called some nasty names and things, honestly. If you know in your heart that you care about all people and civilian people, you know, there's only one place you can land on this issue, frankly. Anyway, love you loads. And if you're somebody who has suffered, you know, in this, and you're suffering still, then I'm with you. Like, I truly feel, I wish there was more I could do to help, really. And I'll try and keep making anything I can if it's useful. And I'm sorry for speaking out of turn if, you know, I'm doing that. All right, lots of love to you all. God be with you. Bye.